Hello everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. So today we are going to talk about productivity and why productivity advice doesn't work for therapists and coaches as well. So if you are a therapist who feels busy all the time but still has the impression of staying behind, of being behind, then this video is for you. Not because you lack discipline, not because you are disorganized, and not because you need a better system. Most productivity advice fails therapists because it really misunderstands the nature of the therapeutic work. So today I want to explain why productivity tools that work perfectly well for other professions often feel exhausting, ineffective, or even guilt-inducing for therapists, and what's actually going on underneath. So let's explore the fundamental error of the productivity culture. So most productivity advice is built on a main and simple assumption that work is mainly cognitive and linear. So task in, task out, optimize time, increase input, and therefore output. But therapy is not a linear work. Therapy is emotionally loaded, relational, and regulating as well. So a 1 hour session is not 1 hour of work. It carries emotional residue. It requires a lot of presence, of patience, and it affects your nervous system as well. So when productivity systems ignore all the emotional load that you have, then they automatically overestimate capacity. So this is where therapists start feeling lazy or inefficient when in reality they are just overloaded in ways the system don't see. And therefore that leads to time management. And why time management misses the point? Because many therapists try to fix this by managing time more tightly. So color coded calendars, back-to-back sessions, optimized schedules. They even spend some of their private time to move forward in their work. But time is really the real bottleneck, but energy is the real bottleneck. So you can have free time and still feel depleted. You can have a light schedule and still feel overwhelmed in the end. So because what drains therapists is not hours, it's emotional switching, context changes, and cognitive load as well. So in the end, productivity advice that focuses only on time ends up pushing therapists to override their limits instead of respecting them. So that will, well, that's so that will inevitably lead to the, let's call that the busy but stuck trap. So the busy but stuck trap is just a very specific pattern that many therapists are experiencing. So you are active, you are working, but still you are you are seeing no changes in your work. So you are doing many things, you are working harder, you are working more hours, but in the end, nothing feels like it's moving forward. So administrative tasks multiply, decisions linger, projects stay half finished, and then that leads to a huge problem. But in the end, it's not a motivation problem. But again, it's a problem because there is no systems, no design behind what you are doing. So when your workday is built around constant emotional output, well, there is very little left for strategic thinking, system building, or reflection. So progress stalls, not because you don't care, but because there is no protected space for non-clinical work. There are no boundaries between your professional life and your private life. And it's why creating strong boundaries between your work and your private life are really fundamental to establish a predictable practice and a practice that will last for a long time. Because even if you work a lot more, that you spend far more time on your work, it may get results in the short term, but in the end, you won't last for a long time. So it's why it's necessary to have systems that work for you instead of you making all the decisions and as always, doing guessing work, always to think about this, to think about that. In the end, you feel overwhelmed. So in the end, productivity is not about doing more, but it's about containing energy leakage. So that means clear boundaries between clinical work and your non-clinical time, predictable rhythms instead of constant switching, and fewer decisions repeated every week. And when productivity is framed as containment, when they are systems, then productivity stops being oppressive, but it becomes supportive. So the goal, again, is not efficiency, but the goal is sustainability. And to get that sustainability, you will need systems that will work for you, and that will prevent you from guessing what to do on that day, on that time, and it will prevent you from a lot of stress. And having systems is not hard to make, but you will need some time to make them, but that time you will be happy in the future that you will have spent that time on making systems, because it will prevent you from a lot of energy leakage, a lot of stress, and even burnout. Because every day when I am spending my time on forums, on the internet in general, I see many and many therapists who want to stop their work because they have no clients, they have not enough clients, they are overwhelmed. While in the end, a lot of their problems are predictable and you can prevent them from happening. But obviously, we were not taught to make systems, to know about ethical marketing, sales, and therefore it is our downfall. But there are solutions, and in the end, the solutions are are easier than we think, but we just need to craft them, and then when we have them, we will see a lot of changes through time. And therefore, that leads us to why simple systems beat perfect ones. So therapists don't need sophisticated productivity systems, but therapists, coaches need systems that reduce decisions, protect their attention, and respect emotional recovery time. So complex systems require a lot of maintenance, but maintenance in the end requires a lot of energy as well. And that energy is already the scarce resource among therapists and coaches. So we need simple and stable systems that free up cognitive space and reduce background stress. And that's why productivity improves not when things become more optimized, but when they become calmer. So if productivity advice has not worked for you, well, it doesn't mean that you are failing, but it usually means that the advice was not designed for emotional labor and for healthcare professionals in general. So for therapists, productivity is not about squeezing more into the day or optimizing more of their work, but it's about creating a work structure that doesn't constantly drain your energy before you even start. So when productivity is designed around energy instead of output, then work will start to feel lighter, not because you are doing less, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. Therefore, it's why I often talk about systems, and in the therapist grow program that I am making, I teach you a lot about systems, because having systems will simplify your life, but you don't even imagine. And even for myself, I have systems, and I used to not use systems, but therefore my work, my energy was dispersed. Everything was chaotic because I have no structure, no design, no clear objectives in mind. So having systems is really something that is needed if you want to work in private practice for a long time. So I wish you a good day and a good night, and let's see each other for the next video.